So the thought of a vehicle that, I can participate in the upsides, but, not going to lose money. And it's life insurance, tax-free. I have access to it. So God forbid something does happen, I need to access it real quick, I can do that without a major penalty. People love the idea of that. My name is Josh Lockhart. This is the Family First Life America call. And today we're going to talk about IULs. We're going to talk about profitability. We're going to talk about simple retirement solutions, all centered around this thing called an IUL. So here's the different types of people I like to look for. Number one, young people, right? Young people. Why? Because generally they're healthy. They have a long time for that money to compound for their benefit. Right. So remember I said that in an IUL, the part of the money that goes to buy the insurance is annual renewable term insurance, which is cheapest kind of insurance you can get, annual renewable. It's not a 10-year or 20-year term. It renews every single year. So the cost of insurance for a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old is going to be really, really low. And then the rest of the money is going to go to the cash value, and that's going to have a long time for that to compound and grow. Right. So we like young and healthy people, of course. The second type of person that I love talking to is self-employed people. Why? Well, self-employed people, which we all are here, whether you're part-time or full-time, we're 1099. Hey, it's number one, it's a roller coaster. It's up, it's down. Sometimes you're like, I'm going to get rich. And other times you're like, we're going to go broke. I'm going to die, right? That's just the entrepreneur roller coaster, and you have to master that. And so with virtually every other kind of policy, whole life term, the premiums are fixed. There's no wiggle room. And so when you get a universal life or an index universal life policy in the mail, and you get the policy, it says flexible premium life insurance. Right. So there's wiggle room, and there's strategies where you can set people up where they can overpay, maybe underpay. We'll get into that. You don't want to do that too much, but there's certainly wiggle room and control. And self-employed people, we're self-employed for a reason. We want control. We would rather work 80 hours a week for ourselves than 40 hours a week for somebody else. Also, the whole, 401ks, a lot of people, maybe they work a job, they have a W-2, and they have a 401k match, and they're all set, and that's what they do. Good. Self-employed people, many times, most of the time, that's not us, right? We're just throwing a savings account, or we're so busy with our craft that to think about investing and setting up an IRA and looking at the index strategies, or worse yet, turning it over to Wall Street, just going, here you go, here's my money, let me know how it goes in 20 or 30 years. Or if anybody's been paying attention to the news, we're looking at what's going on with all these banks and going, yes, let me run out and put my money into these banks, right? And so people, especially self-employed people, they're thinking about these things more, they're thinking about their cash flow more, they're thinking about what's going on in the marketplace, good times, bad times, how's my business going to do? And they're looking for places to put their money. So here's me as a self-employed person. This is how I think, right? And maybe you can relate. My number one investment for my money and time is into my business here at FFL, right? So that means leads, staff, marketing. If I'm going to invest money to grow, it's going to be number one in that. And so when it comes to my investing life outside of my business, this is just me. Like, I don't like a ton of risk. You know what I mean? Because my business it can be risky enough. You have a bad week, you get sick, you can't, like, there's so many variables going on. I don't want a ton of variables in my savings and investing life with my family's future, right? I can get as crazy as I want in my business. So the thought of a vehicle that, I can participate in the upsides, but, not going to lose money, and it's life insurance, tax-free. I have access to it. So God forbid something does happen, I need to access it real quick, I can do that without a major penalty. Self-employed people love the idea of that. So self-employed people, that could be any business. It could be pastors, hairstylists, all great candidates. Okay. Number three, my third favorite type of person, this is just me personally, is the 60 and up crowd for mortgage protection. Okay. So as we know, if they're 60 and below, they can get a cashback term, but above that, they can't get it. So IUL for certain limits, depending on how big it is and all that good stuff, is a great resource. And we'll go look at some illustrations here in a minute, but just in a rough estimate, a rough idea, let's say somebody's 65 years old and or 67, whatever the case may be. They're pretty healthy, right? They're not insulin diabetic and all that kind of stuff. And some people, you talk to them and they go, man, a 15-year term, a 20-year term, don't you have anything? It's, I got a 30-year mortgage. Like, I'm kind of worried I'm going to outlive this. And then what happens, right? And some people, they just love the idea of, having equity, having cash value. Somebody just add that the IULE is up to 75 now. Absolutely. And so you can show them an IUL, you can show them the cash value, and it roughly works out that over a 20-year span, depending on which product you have and all this, that the cash value will be half of what they've paid into the policy if they're in that age bracket, right? So let's say they're paying, $400 a month. That's what, $5,000 for the year. Let's see, that's 50, 100 grand over the course of 20 years. Roughly speaking, they're gonna have about $50,000 in cash value. Now, when they get to that point, you got some options, Mary. You can either just keep the policy going, right? You could have the cash value assist you in paying the policy. You could access that 50,000 of cash and pay yourself back, use that to pay the mortgage off early. Bottom line is you have options, and you don't have to necessarily decide those today, but those are the options on the table. And they go, man, yeah, for an extra couple, whatever it is versus a term policy, I really like my options here. So again, it's good because it's not a forever situation necessarily, because at the end of the day, here's just something to note. With IULs, most every company is going to have a guaranteed, we'll look at this here in a second. They have a guaranteed and a non-guaranteed section. I can tell you with Mutual of Omaha specifically, their guarantee is 20 years. The policy will last 20 years or to age 80. Now, anything outside of that, we're going to get non-guaranteed. We'll talk about that. But that's why I like that age bracket with mortgage protection, because they're not saying, hey, I want to use this as a final expense policy. And, my family, I might live to 92, right? They're saying, hey, I want to cover the mortgage over the next 20 or 30 years. And, there's not a lot of great options for me. So those are the three kinds of people that I like to talk to about IULs, right? Young people, self-employed people, and 60 and above for mortgage protection.